Week 2 of college football was just nuts, and now it's that time where we go and take a look at these draft eligible prospects for 2023, and we see whose stock is up, whose stock is down. Welcome to the Stock Report. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, comment below and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. And as always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. I'm only going to talk about 10 guys. I try to sprinkle a few other performances as I talk about maybe certain games. But let me know some of the guys that I perhaps didn't name in the video. But let's go ahead with probably the hottest matchup of the week being Texas, Alabama, Will Anderson. And that game, first and foremost, nuts. Didn't feel like Alabama deserved to win it. But let's talk about Will Anderson first before we get into the other prospects, because Will Anderson's probably the one to most talk about, because this was a uncharacteristically bad game for him. He had the 3 penalties. He was flagged 3 times. The whole Alabama squad was being flagged. I think they were flagged 15 times, or at least 15 penalties were accepted. And Will Anderson, the dude was only flagged 3 times over the past 2 seasons. He was flagged 3 times in this game. He was missing tackles in open field. He had four missed tackles on the game. He was getting pressure. I mean, when it came to the penalties, a lot of it he was just mistiming the snap, because we know he's got really good get off. But mistimed the snap. One was a late hit that was just a bone-headed decision on his part, and even the sack, the pressure / sack, came on, I guess, kind of a busted pass protection play, where they were basically, it was a play action, and they were moving everyone to like the offensive line was fake and run to the right, and I think it was Card and Robinson got tripped, like they got mixed up. Robinson fell and was unable to guard Will Anderson, so he basically had a freebie. It's not a good look for probably arguably everybody's top overall non-quarterback prospect in this class. Am I saying, hey, it's time to hit the eject button, turn on the red lights, the red flags, this is wild, this is Will Anderson ain't looking good? No, this is the second game of the season, and to be fair, in the first game he played a hot 20 snaps. It was, for me, I'm gonna just take this as a bad game, and let's see how he does moving forward. On a side note, Bryce Young, I think, looks like the top prospect in this class, for all intents and purposes. This guy's carrying this Alabama team. If they make it to the national championship, let alone the SEC championship, it's going to be on the shoulders of Bryce Young. He looks phenomenal. Couple of other, it's notable to talk about, Eli Ricks didn't start this game and didn't see a lot of snaps. So don't know when that'll happen, if that'll happen, but it was just something I noticed and was like, if he ain't gonna play a lot of snaps this year, he ain't coming out of this draft class. Also, Jahmyr Gibbs, a lot of people are gonna love what he could do as a receiving threat, but I know Alabama's offensive line wasn't blocking all that well. And to be fair, that interior had a rough game. Emil LaCour didn't look good. The center there didn't look good either. Yeah, but still, that's cool. He's a pass catching threat. We already knew that. We know when this guy can get out of space, he can make moves. But it doesn't, as a running threat, I don't think he's impressed me that much thus far this season. If we're going to talk about on the defensive side of the ball for Texas, because those are where they're I would say they're real prospects, outside of Bijan Robinson, who was just wonderful in the game, in spite of his offensive line. DeMarvion Overshown, I thought, had a solid game. There was it Ojamo? I don't know. I gotta look more into him. I know he's eligible this year. He's more of this pass rusher on the interior than he is a certified run stuffer, but he had a really good game too against that lackluster Alabama offensive line. But yeah, again, don't hit the red button when it comes to Will Anderson just yet. Let's just see how it all goes from here. Now, a stock up I got stock up on Drew Sanders. And this cat's actually a former Alabama prospect, if you didn't know. He made the move to more of a traditional off-ball linebacker, though Arkansas is blitzing this guy tunzo funzo. But he had a really good outing against South Carolina, who they ended up facing, where he had 11 tackles, 4 pressures, 2 sacks. He even had a pass breakup. The guy just played good. He actually, for all intents and purposes, this cat is very much, he's not going to be a guy that can consistently make splash plays in coverage. He's more of a, hey, I'm going to let guys, the guys are probably going to catch the ball on me, but I'm going to try to minimize those efforts. He could still become better as a guy that's trying to open or tackle in the open field. But what he brings as a pass rusher is just such a scary threat. I can see why Alabama tried to make him more of a pass rushing threat there before he decided to transfer. But I thought it was very impressive out of it. I think he's developing very well as a linebacker. And I mean, in this past game, like thus far, man, he has had more snaps in coverage than he did the prior 2 seasons at Alabama. He has already dropped back 72 times this year. He's allowed a completion percentage of 63.6, but he needs to get that missed tackle rate down. Right now it's at 31.6. He has 6 missed tackles on the year, so that he should clean up there. But on only 29 pass rushing snaps, he has 7 pressures and 3 sacks. That's pretty impressive, especially in a linebacker class that's not that girthy, and really like the top end talent's not all that great. That Drew Sanders really is definitely a name to watch going forward. KJ Jefferson had a wonderful outing. Spencer Rattler doesn't look like he's coming out this year. I'm just gonna say that he's just not looking good, and the South Carolina offense is really struggling because of it. Austin Stogner's been okay. Jaheim Bell's not rekindling the magic we saw late at the end of last season. He's just not being utilized. I think he had 1 target, no catches this past game. Cam Smith, he actually got used a little bit at the slot this game, but he was fine. He was pretty good. Trying to think of any other running back. I don't think he's eligible this year. Sanders for Arkansas, a guy to watch out for 2024 though. I was pretty impressed with him in this game. On to number 3 on the list, I got Steve Gilmore out of Marshall, the cornerback. And you're gonna be like, Stephen Gilmore, man, that last name, it sounds familiar. It should be, because this is Stephon Gilmore's younger brother. He had a very impressive outing where he only allowed 1 catch on 4 targets for 6 yards, and he had a 37-yard pick 6 that basically sealed the game for them. I will say, I looked a bit. I did look a bit at this guy's tape from last year, because there were a lot of people thought he would come out because he is using his extra year of eligibility because of the Rona, and he's a 5th-year senior this year. But like this guy, I think has the makings of free safety. I really do, like a deep safety. He's got good length, and he's a very good athlete. It's just where what he lacks is physicality. And I mean, look at the size, 170. No kidding, he lacks physicality. That's why I kind of like the idea of him on the back end. They're basically letting him just kind of roam around. But again, very smooth athlete, smooth out of his transition, smooth out of his back pedal. He's got some speed, he's got some length, he's got proven ball skills throughout his career. I think he has 7 picks and 17 pass breakups. But in terms of attacular, he's very so-so. He's really a guy that's thrown his body and hoping it does something at ball carriers. He gets locked up easily by receivers in the run game as well. A guy that just, I don't think has that physicality. Like, even if he's going to stick at corner, he's probably going to play, he has to play in an off coverage type of way. But definitely a cat to watch out for in this class. I kind of view him in the late day 3 variety, especially if I consider him converted to maybe a safety role in the NFL. Next on the list, I got a Byron Young out of Tennessee. And actually, this is the oldest prospect I have on here, because I think he'll be 25 by the time he takes his first NFL snap. Yes, that's correct. He'll be 25. And let's kind of talk about how we got there. So he was an unranked recruit from the 2018 class, and he attended Georgia Military College from 2018 to 2019. And then he was a 3-star JUCO recruit, joined Tennessee, but opted out of the 2020 season because of the Rona. But he was still allowed to practice with the squad. And then he basically, while waiting to see if he would be eligible to play in 2020, missed the first 2 games in 2021. But then he played in the rest of the games, I think it was 11, all 11 games with 8 starts, and basically had a breakout season. Looked like he belonged in the SEC, which that's great. First year in the SEC, and you look like you belong. I love it. And he's looking the part thus far. He had 6 pressures, a sack. He was active as a run defender. And you might be like, okay, this guy's an old prospect, but he's got good explosiveness. He's got good bend. He's got plus length. If anything, I think this cat, like, I love how, like, he's unpolished very much as a pass rusher. Like, his pass rush moves, there ain't a lot of them, but he is so violent with his hands. He's got strong hands. Like, he wins a lot with just pure get off and pure athleticism. And I know Pittsburgh, they got beat up by West Virginia. Pittsburgh's offensive line don't look all that hot, but he's already had a strong opening. We saw him perform well in the SEC last year. If anything, I think this cat has a good case to be made to be at least a rotation player on any defensive line in the NFL. I know this guy's a man among boys, but like still, he looks like a pro-ready prospect in my opinion in terms of at least what he can bring from an athletic and physical tools perspective. Like, yeah, he can clean up in some areas. Even in the run game, though, he's been pretty solid as a run defender this year. But a guy that needs to work hard to maintain leverage, gets just sometimes struggles to disengage, but he can make tackles in open space. He was very good against the run. Well, not very good. He was solid against the run last year, and very much he's looking similar. And I think while like there's a lot of projecting going on right now when it comes to these guys that are like young and have great athleticism and you're waiting for the production. For Young, the production's there. You can polish him off as a pass rusher. If anything, this is the cat that can be used in a rotational role. I expect him to be a day 3 guy that any NFL team's like, yeah, we want that guy. We want that guy a part of our depth, a part of our rotation. So definitely someone to watch out for. Very impressive. He was impressive last year as well. Moving on to Anthony Richardson. This is a bit of a stock down if you didn't know how it all went for Anthony Richardson on Saturday against Kentucky, but it wasn't a great showing. He had 3 turnovers, 2 picks. He had a fumble as well. He wasn't that productive on the ground. I think he only had less than like 10 yards. Didn't even get in double digits in terms of rushing. He was sacked, I believe, twice, but his adjusted completion rate was 54.8. Yeah, the guy still, even when trying to work inside a structure, he doesn't throw with anticipation, he doesn't throw with time, and yes, he's still raw. This dude has a ton of tools. It's a long season. He could turn this around, and teams are going to look at his athletic profile and his physical gifts and be like, we're willing to take a shot on that and try to polish it up. Or maybe he stays back a year and tries to polish it up. I don't know. We're too far away to really kind of speculate on that. But as of this game, you saw a lot of the flaws of Anthony Richardson. This game was a real banger in general. Like Kentucky's defense was much better than I anticipated. I guess I could speak about Will Levis a little bit here. He looked all right. It was definitely an improvement from last week, and against a much tougher defense too, so that's great. But still, it's not what I would say I'd want to see from a guy that kind of needs to be a pro ready now prospect at his age, if he's going to get drafted in the first round, at least in my opinion. And I am going to talk about one more guy from this list, and I don't really talk about offensive linemen on this list. Unfortunately, I really should. But it just happens when I go back to watch games. That's not kind of like the guys that catch my eye. But Osiris Torrance is having a hell of a season thus far, and he did this against Utah. He did it against Kentucky. He's looking really good. Watch out for that guy, maybe being definitely a day 2 at the very least, but maybe even a late first round pick. I've been very impressed with him. All right, on to, and we're gonna stick to the same game, Girvin Dexter. I wanted to talk about this cat by himself because he had a great outing. 7 tackles, 3 pressures, 6 stops. He even had a freaking interception. I think he's had a good start to the year, and in I would say a very good defensive interior class. He's kind of shown he's the cream de crop. I would say he is in that after we're talking about, like, I would say kind of like the top guys right now on the interior. Obviously, Jalen Carter, he's in a league by himself. There's a good case to be made. He's the best defense, or the best non-quarterback prospect in this class. But then I would say like Brian Brazzi, and Dexter, Sika Ika. Those guys are definitely in the conversation for defensive interior too. And a case to be made that they're all like top 20 picks. Like Dexter was very, very good against Kentucky, and again, I just walked away real impressed as a cat that's 320, 6'6", and you look at his size and you kind of worry about getting consistent leverage and him having to work harder to stay low, but I think he does a good job at that. The things where I thought he needed to improve was with his technique. He was a bit unpolished, a bit raw, that sometimes he gets caught up in the fight trying to win the rep when he could really just stack and shed. And I think he's been better this season in that regard. So as we continue SEC play, I expect him to be one of the highest, if not higher, if not highest, Florida prospects taken, because this is a team that's got a few. Like I talked about Torrance, AR-15 obviously is a guy that's going to be talked about as a high round draft pick just because of his athleticism and his physical tools. But at the moment, I think Dexter is the best Florida prospect when it comes to this draft. He had a very, very good outing. On to stock down here in Caillou Blue Kelly. Wasn't pretty. Jordan Addison ate his lunch. We had 3 missed tackles, which sucks. That's kind of not necessarily uncharacteristic from Kelly, but it's not good. You kind of worry about him now a bit in open space or out in space. He legit had a 60% missed tackle rate against USC. He got blown up on the deep ball by Addison. It was like 75-yarder. And just allowed every reception. This wasn't what you wanted to see, especially in a big matchup like this. Like Caillou Blue Kelly, he's definitely a guy that could contest the most physical of receivers. We saw that against Drake London, one of the best matchups in 2021. But handling speed, that's where I'm concerned, man. Having, like, if he can't even get his hands on a guy, like, he might be dead in the water. He might be getting put in the blender by these quicker, savvier route runners that have that start ability. So Caillou Blue Kelly, this was definitely a down stock. I would say we're talking like day 2, maybe even early day 3 right now at this point. Still like the dude a ton as a prospect. I just thought in this corner class where guys are starting to emerge and some guys are starting to fall off, he's more in the right now. He's sitting more with guys like Storm Duck, Tony Grimes, Eli Ricks, because Eli Ricks ain't playing. So he falls more into that category than guys like Joey Porter and DJ Turner, who have done nothing but help their stock thus far to begin the year. And we're going to continue with the stock down with Phil Jerkovic. And I said this in my top 200 big board, that Phil Jerkovic, based on what Jerkovic we saw from 2021, is it the one at the beginning before he injured his wrist, who was just slinging the ball, making big plays, or will it be the one that we thought returned too early from injury, that was mistake prone and really struggled to find his touch on the ball? And through thus far his first 2 outings, it kind of feels like he's the Phil Jerkovic we saw in late 2021 against Rutgers and against Virginia Tech. He did not look good. He's currently sporting a completion rate of 54%. If you take the adjusted completion rate, which basically they take away throwaways, drops, spiking the ball, stuff like that, he's at 66%. Still not all that great. 4 turnover worthy plays, 3 picks. Like, he's just really done himself no favors. I know the offensive line's really done him no favors. It's legit a brand new starting line at every position. The one guy that he was supposed to be bringing back in Christian Mahogany ended up with a season-ending injury before the season even started. So yeah, it doesn't look pretty for Jerkovic along that offensive line, but still you expect him to look much better than this, and at this point he's just really kind of costing his team games. So Jerkovic, I put that guy as a day 2, saying, hey, he might be a dude that ends up being more maybe a late day 3 guy, depending on which guy we see from 2021, early Jerkovic or late Jerkovic, who we thought returned too early from injury, and he looks like late 2021 Jerkovic, so he's probably going to be a late day 3 pick. He does not look like a day 2 guy. So yeah, I'm hitting the emergency button on this cat. I think I don't want to say I've seen enough. Obviously we got a long season, but it does not look pretty. It really does not. Now, I wanted to end this list on a high note with 2 players that had really good games at the wide receiver position, because on offense, that's probably my favorite position to scout. And we got to talk about Jordan Addison. We were talking about with Caillou Blue Kelly, but Jordan Addison had a freaking monster game. 7 receptions for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. He started the season with back-to-back 2 touchdown performances. He's looking great. And you know what? The best part? He's doing this on the outside. I love this. I think there's a case, especially with guys. I know Kayshon Boutte. He returned to LSU. He played this past Saturday, which I'm so happy about. But it's a long season, and we got to see more. JSN's hurt. Let me look up. I didn't look at a timetable on his return. Let's see. It was a hamstring issue, and right now he might be back next game, but if he's not 100%, they're not gonna give him the go ahead. So JSN's hurt. Kayshon Boutte is kind of in turmoil there at LSU. Jermaine Burton, he's really I thought that dude was gonna explode for Alabama, and it hasn't happened. So not looking good on my part. Really, I think the only other guy you could say that's kind of challenging Jordan Addison in terms of production at this point that could be a high draft pick at the receiver position is my boy Quentin Johnston, because I think that cat's been playing good football. I just want to pull up his statistics real quick, because I mean, again, it really, there's no comparison right now in terms of production with Addison, but primarily not really not a very, with TCU, they don't I'm not a fan of TCU's offense. I'm not. But the dude's only had 5 receptions the first 2 games, and to be fair, that both were kind of blowouts. I know that Colorado game wasn't a blowout till the second half, but then they had a cupcake matchup. But still, I like Johnson in terms of what he can do after the catch. He already, on those 5 receptions, already has 4 forced missed tackles. I'm just saying, Johnston, I feel like this guy could play. If he was playing anywhere else, he would have bonkers pass or receiving yards. It's just, honestly, TCU's kind of a liability to Johnson's draft stock. So there's a great case for Jordan Addison potentially as wide receiver 1. Does that mean he's top 10? I don't know if I'm there yet, but I could be getting close. I definitely, like, we're talking maybe mid first round, especially this dude's doing it on the outside, and he did this against Caillou Blue Kelly, who I think is a very good prospect. So, like, Jordan Addison is, I think, thus far, probably been the best receiver, draft eligible, receiver thus far. He's impressed me the most. That really has a real shot at the first round. Rakim Jarrett, I think there's a case that he's up there, but outside of that, man, I think this is kind of like Jordan Addison's time. Like, yeah, dude's just been wonderful. And I want to end on Rasheed Rice out of SMU, because I like this cat a lot. This dude, he's up there with Quentin Johnston in terms of who's the best competitor in this draft class. Like, he is very, very, very good. He was a former 3-star recruit in 2019, and he really started to see playing time pretty early. He made 7 starts in 2020. In 2021, he started all 7 games and led the team in receptions and touchdowns. I'm just saying, a guy like Danny Gray, who was on that squad, he ended up going in the 3rd round. I would say Rice, who he's not as fast as Gray, but Gray was blazing, but I think Rice is up there. I think he's a 4.4 guy. But like, I like better what Rice can do after the catch. Some of the area, like, one of the big struggles for him, though, I don't know how really NFL teams care too much, is he's coming from an offense that doesn't run a lot of route versatility, so his route tree is going to be very simplistic. He doesn't necessarily explode off the line, but he's a guy that's been used in the slot and on the outside quite a bit. But like, he's a savvy route runner. I would say he's a savvy route runner. There's times he could use better moves, like whether it's like head fakes or shoulder shakes, to get more separation. But he's a very good contested catch target. He's got a lot of arms. He creates a big catch radius for guys, and he creates after the catch. He just does that so well. He has had back-to-back 100-yard performances there for SMU. And I know they've been kind of they're not like, it's not like great competition. It's Lamar and Northern Texas. But this guy who's just been producing since he started playing for SMU. He's had over 400 yards receiving every year. I think the dude's legit. I like him as maybe a guy that could be a fringe day 2, early day 3. Definitely someone to watch out for. But yeah, let me know who are some of your favorite guys in this draft class. When I was talking about USC, I really should talk about Tully. Oh my gosh, Toi Pelotu, who's been having a really good year. Shane Lee's been pretty good there for USC. Any other USC guys I could talk about? I guess in Pittsburgh I could have talked about Kalijah Cansey. Is that right? Kalijah? I don't know, Cansey, but you know, the interior, like more so 5 tech for Pittsburgh. He's been on a tear this year in his first 2 games. So there's a lot of guys I could have talked about, but I mean, I don't want to be here talking all day or talking your ears off. We could talk about it in the comment section below. So go ahead and do that. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later. Huh?